All right, so now let's start talking about what is computer architecture, and in particular, why should you care? You're going to spend a lot of time in this class, and I'd like to give you a good motivation for why you should spend the time on this. So we're going to take a look at a modern example here, and that's the big.LITTLE processor. And if you look at the way this is written, big.LITTLE, you can see that some marketing folks got involved here. But let's see what's really behind all the marketing. So 2011, press release came out here. ARM unveils its most energy efficient application processor ever, redefines power and performance with big.LITTLE processing. Okay, big.LITTLE processing. So ARM, big.LITTLE processing. What's going on here? Let's look at another article that came out there. Deep inside ARM's new Intel killer. So if you look at this here, it's pretty clear that some people in the press think that this thing that ARM is doing is going to be a real threat to Intel. And we know Intel is a big processor here, so this must be a big deal. So let's back up a little bit here. Do you know what ARM is? So here's a question. Do you own an ARM computer? Well, the answer to that question is yes. In fact, I'm willing to bet if you put your hand in your pocket, you'll find one. All of the cell phones today, all of the tablets, those are all ARM computers. So let's take a look at how much of the computing market is owned by ARM. So here's some information about the computing market. You see over years, you can see the amount of computers. These ones here in this bluish color, these are laptops and desktops, and these are embedded mobile devices, cell phones and tablets. And if you look what happened, the number of laptops and desktops has steadily increased, but the number of cell phones and tablets has increased even faster. And this part of the market here, this is what ARM is. So ARM is all these processors here. Practically every cell phone and every tablet is using an ARM processor. And if you check this out, you can see there's enormous growth happening here. And what we've gotten into is we've gotten into the point where there are more smartphone and tablets being made than there are laptops and desktop computers. So ARM has now become very important. It's now more ARM processors in the world than there are regular computer processors. So embedded ARM processors, the ones I asked you if you knew anything about, those are the most common processors in the world. And they're embedded, so you don't really see them. You don't go out and buy a phone because it says ARM inside, but you might buy a laptop that says Intel inside. So what is this big.LITTLE thing? Well, it's a pretty simple idea. What ARM said is they're going to say we're going to have big processors with lots of fancy features, and we're going to use them for high performance. And at the same time, we're going to put together a bunch of little processors, simplified ones that aren't very fast, but they're low power. And the idea here is by combining high performance and low power in different processors, we can choose the right power performance for anything you want to do. So here's ARM's picture of this. They show the inside of their processor. They've got these big processors over here and the little processors over here. Now, let's try and understand a little better what's going on here. So why is ARM doing this? Here's a graph, and it shows over here the performance you can get. This is higher performance, and the power you spend. This is higher power. So if we look at the big processor up here, it goes from medium performance up to pretty high performance, but at the same time it goes from medium power to really high power. So this point up here, you're running really fast, but using a lot of energy to get there. Let's take a look at what the little processor does. The little processor goes the opposite way. It goes from pretty low performance at low power down to very low performance, but at very low power. So the little processor here is slow and low power. And ARM's idea is that by combining these and choosing the right one for the right task, you can do a better job of saving energy. So if you're playing a video game on your cell phone and you want high performance, you're going to use the big processor. And if you're just listening to music or checking email in the background, you want the low performance, the little processor, to save energy. So a question, why is ARM doing this big.LITTLE thing? Well, they're doing it for battery life pretty much. By having this big.LITTLE combination, they want to be able to sell you a cell phone that has better battery life, because when it doesn't need high performance, it can save a lot of power. So this is a clever way for them to change their architecture to try and get you better battery life. So where are we today? So here is Samsung's website. They're talking about their new processor here. And if you look at what they say about their processor, they say it's big.LITTLE. Here's the ARM big processor and the ARM little processor, the way they drew them here. So this is the fast, high-powered one, and this is the slow, low-power one. So they're really trying to sell this. They're even trying to advertise this computer architecture detail to the general public. So they think computer architecture really matters at any rate.